Welcome to Alpha Recap, your end-of-day market wrap from stockalpha.ai. I'm glad you could join us. Markets closed for the day, and we've got a lot to unpack from today's tape. As always, if you have questions, you can reach us at stockalpha.ai.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Plenty of headlines to get through after the close.
Let's start with the two big stories that set the tone. A huge spike in search interest for AI, and a report that Exxon accelerated work on its Guyana project amid a higher oil price backdrop. Those two really framed the tape today.
Absolutely. Both themes pushed attention in different directions. Growth and tech on one side, commodity-driven cash flow on the other. And that showed up in volume and rotation across the market.
So, what really stands out here is how search behavior translated into trading. Walk us through the Google Trends angle.
Right. Google Trends registered searches for AI spiking to 10,000, which is roughly a 1,000% jump versus recent baselines. That kind of jump is a pretty clear signal that retail and some institutional attention rose sharply.
And that attention showed up in market activity today, right?
Yeah, for example, Nvidia was one of the most active names and finished the day down about 0.8% to $180.40 on roughly 154 million shares traded. Apple was also flagged as an AI-exposed name to watch.
So heavy trading, but not a huge price move in Nvidia. Analysts note this doesn't guarantee a sustained rally, more like temporary concentration of flows?
Exactly. Search momentum generally correlates with increased retail participation and can amplify intraday volume and short-term volatility. Analysts note that while thematic interest can lift multiples, it doesn't always translate to durable earnings or valuation expansion by itself.
Quick clarification for listeners who don't follow options all day. How does a search spike feed into options activity?
Good question. When attention surges, options traders watch gamma exposure and implied volatility for large cap leaders. If lots of retail buys call options, dealers hedge by buying the underlying, which can push prices and create squeeze dynamics. So sustained search intensity can be a trigger for heightened option skew and positioning stress.
Right. And the other thing is that fund flows into AI-focused ETFs can follow that same attention, concentrating capital at the top.
Yeah, analysts note fund flows are something to monitor. If flows tilt heavily into a handful of names, it increases concentration risk, even as thematic conviction rises.
Short reaction. Okay, switching gears to energy. Exxon reportedly accelerated work on its newest Guyana facility because of a higher oil price environment. What does that mean in practical terms?
In practical terms, accelerating project work typically aims to bring production forward, which could increase near-term cash flow. The report didn't include production or timeline figures, though, so the market will want official guidance or milestone updates before pricing any material impact.
And the kicker is that the financial effect is mainly driven by the commodity price backdrop, correct?
Right. If oil prices remain elevated, earlier production ramps would magnify cash flow upside. Analysts note CapEx decisions move with commodity cycles. Majors often fast-track high-return projects when the price environment supports it.
So what should people watch tomorrow related to Exxon and the energy theme?
Look for any company statements or Investor Day updates from Exxon detailing timing or output. And watch front-month crude benchmarks and inventory releases that validate the price backdrop. Those are the immediate cross-checks.
Short reaction? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that tracks.
Now, volatility and liquidity were huge themes today. What stood out on the ETF and microcap front?
We saw outsized volume across a few products. The crypto-linked ETF dropped about 4.7% to $9.78 on roughly 133 million shares. A short-leveraged ETF rallied about 4.8% to $7.37 on about 209 million shares. And a heavily traded penny stock fell about 2.3% to 3 cents, with roughly 1,280 million shares changing hands.
That last one? Over 1 billion shares. Wow.
Yeah, big move. Microcap turnover like that raises execution risk and means price swings can be swift and news-driven. Analysts note that such volume spikes often follow filings, shifts in short interest, were persistent retail flows.
So, in plain English, big volume in leveraged and sentiment-exposed products can both reflect and amplify traders' tactical repositioning.
Exactly. The coexistence of rising bullish interest in AI leaders and simultaneous heavy selling in crypto-exposed products suggests a two-track market. Concentration at the top while traders hedge or de-risk elsewhere.
Let's hit a few of the quieter but still important non-price announcements: reputation, awards, and workforce news.
Several companies announced governance and workplace recognitions. One engineering and IT firm got an ethical company nod for the third year in a row. A life sciences analytics group earned Great Place to Work certification in both India and the US for the 8th straight year, and the payments vendor won an industry fintech award for a product. Small items, but they matter over the medium term for hiring and client retention.
And there was a public grant to expand nursing education too, about $650,000 to a university program. Not market moving right away, but a policy and workforce signal.
Right. Public funding for training pipelines can, over time, affect labor supply in regional healthcare markets, which feeds back into cost structures for providers.
Short reaction. Honestly, I was a bit surprised by how many corporate culture items made the list.
Yeah, culture and reputation are quieter inputs, but they compound and can show up in revenue stability down the road.
Quick fire recap. Let's run through the headline numbers so listeners have a tidy summary.
AI searches spiked to 10,000, roughly a 1,000% jump. Nvidia finished the day down about 0.8% to $180.40 on roughly 154 million shares. ExxonMobil reportedly accelerated Guyana work amid a higher oil price backdrop. The crypto-linked ETF fell about 4.7% to $9.78 on about 133 million shares. The short-leveraged ETF rose about 4.8% to $7.37 on about 209 million shares. And the penny stock finished down about 2.3% to 3 cents, with roughly 1,280 million shares traded.
Nice. Patterns and emerging trends. How would you sum today up in 3 simple themes?
Thematic concentration around AI as attention drives trading. Flow bifurcation, where traders both chase themes and deploy hedges. And elevated liquidity spawning elevated volatility, which increases execution and tracking risk for larger managers.
Perfect. Before we close, what should listeners watch next? Give us the near-term checklist.
Monitor Google Trends to see if AI search interest stays elevated. Watch NVIDIA and other AI leaders for heavy volume or option activity. Look for any official Exxon updates on Guyana and track crude benchmarks and inventory prints. And follow persistent ETF flows and any SEC filings from microcaps that showed outsized turnover.
So keep an eye on flows, volume, and company statements. Those will tell the story after the headline noise settles.
Exactly. And analysts note these are market signals, not guarantees. Data suggests elevated attention increases the probability of short-term volatility, but it doesn't promise long-term outcomes.
Final takeaways for listeners. What are the 3 things you want them to remember from today's recap?
1. Retail attention around AI spiked and drove concentrated volume in AI-exposed large caps. 2. Exxon's reported acceleration in Guyana is a commodity-driven story that depends on sustained oil prices for material financial impact. 3. High-volume activity in ETFs and microcaps underscores that traders were both chasing themes and actively managing risk today.
Great. If you have questions about anything we covered today, head to stockalpha.ai, where you can ask us directly and we'll answer live. For more market analysis and insights, visit stockalpha.ai.
Thanks for listening. Analysts note this briefing is informational only and not investment advice. Data and trends to watch, not recommendations.
That's it for today's Alpha Recap. We'll be back after the next close. Until then, keep an eye on flows and stay curious. Bye for now.